Is there something that horses have taught me? Is that they have secrets? And today I decided to tell you one of their secrets. I know that many riders avoid this topic, but the truth has to come out eventually. The first tip I heard while sitting on my first horse was that you should squeeze it like a dried plum. I continued my education at the hippodrome, riding on dried fruits and squeezing a lot of plums. I learned to steer them, turn, control gaits, and also jump. One time I decided to go outside to another stable, and so I ended up in one stable where they showed me that you can build a relationship with a horse, that you can talk to him, that you can give him signals to which he will react, and not force him to react to these signals. Tell me the secret, how to do it, how to build such a strong bond with the horse that all you need to do is talk to him, or even just think about doing something for us where you don't need equipment, where you don't need strong calves and a strong whip. How can I talk to my horse? When I returned to the hippodrome again, having this knowledge, I decided to test it, and I got a typical hippodrome horse, which was completely, he knew the signals that I learned then. He knew the basic rein calf, but he didn't know the delicate ones related to balancing the body and body tension. He didn't know these exercises at all. I decided to test them. They were completely different exercises. They were exercises that I also don't know. Various types of expressions. For example, and I decided to practice it with him. When I started doing these exercises with him, i.e. starting not by squeezing the calves, but by slightly bending, stopping not by pulling the reins, but again by putting a load on the hindquarters, turning also more by balancing the body, and not by the reins. Learning a new style, completely new to this horse. It took him 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, he learned a completely new language for him. It only took him 15 minutes, and we practiced for a whole hour, an extremely free, smooth, and relaxed ride, which was one of the most pleasant I have ever had. At the end of the training, we stopped, and at that moment, this horse, he surprised me. He turned his head 180 degrees. He started smelling me, to remember me carefully. He is sitting on him at the moment, because if you come again, I will know that it was you. An amazing feeling when a horse is looking for contact with you, thanks to you offering him this type of training. But what I heard at the hippodrome surprised me a bit. They told me that this horse wanted candy. That's why he turned around and sniffed me just after training, just after great exercises, just after teaching him a completely new style. He wanted candy. I knew better, but it wasn't a good start. Black clouds hung over my work on my equestrian future, because the hippodrome did not accept these methods. Working from the ground, building a relationship. Our horses generally ride on bits, not strings, so there is no place for you here. And that's how I ended my 5-year adventure with the hippodrome, unable to develop further using these without methods, a stable, without horses, and without a trainer. But at some point a light appeared in the tunnel. I found another stable that was more comfortable with different training methods. And there I met a golden horse called Twist. Few people liked him because of his difficult character, which meant that he was afraid of many things, and it was difficult to teach him something. But I decided to start working with him. I locked myself in the hall with him for hours, and we spent time together. It was a completely different environment than before, where I had an hour to work with a horse, with a trainer, and I had to do some task. No, I had the whole day here, and the horse was in no rush. There was no goal. There was no pressure or tasks. What did I start doing at that moment? Just being with him. My goals changed. My goal was no longer to jump over an obstacle to cross a given place. The goal was to build relationships and solve problems. I started working freely, relaxed. I started playing with this horse. I started checking. What will you do if I do this? And how will you react to my attitude? What will you do if I run away from you? What will you do if I run to you? What will you do if I touch you here? And in this way, we had fun, tested, found a common language of understanding, where our goal was simply to have a nice time. Imagine how much the horse's attitude and approach changes when you change your own approach and attitude towards the horse and towards your work with the horse, where there is no pressure. No, there is no tension. There is no time pressure or pressure from other people. It's just you and your horse. This approach was so brilliant that Twist started to change. He started to become more obedient. He started to understand more. Less and less things scared him, and I decided to test this approach also among other horses. Bingo, an unruly pony who had never galloped in his life and only went on tours at a walk, was my next challenge, in which I started working with him to solve this problem, to build a relationship with him. What I did was not the goal to make him gallop, but the goal was to he recognized me as his leader, a guide, a person he can trust. And I will tell you that after one training, he started galloping. And unfortunately for him, that he no longer went only for guided tours, also for normal rides for children. But thanks to this, he developed and was able to work at higher levels, work with more advanced riders. One training session only changed his approach completely. And of course, the unruly mare Baja. At the beginning I was forbidden to approach her because it was a horse that didn't like men. It kicked them, bit them, and chased them all over the field. However, I decided to work with this horse, and it completely changed my and her work, because she started to be more trusting, started to be more cooperative. She did all the gaits, she rode freely everywhere, and most importantly, I think she liked the guys in the end. Everything was beautiful. Every horse I worked with experienced some kind of metamorphosis, became better, more friendly. He began to overcome his difficulties, fears, and develop his athletic skills, but also those related to psychology. But this happiness could not last forever. The jealousy of people who maintained a certain status quo. This horse was not suitable for this, because he is stupid. Or this horse, he doesn't gallop, because he can't gallop. And he attacks people, because he is aggressive. But the moment I entered, the moment I showed them they were wrong, I started to be a threat to them. And at that moment, they were the horse's problem, and not horses. Suddenly Twist, my golden horse, which was not personally mine, but was a horse I worked with, was bought by a new owner. And the owner banned me from working with him, because he did not want this horse to work with these methods. Then of course they complained that they overpaid, and this horse can't do anything, because in order to consolidate certain things, they unfortunately have to be repeated. But they took away my opportunity to contact the horse, and it wasn't just about exercising this horse. It was about the fact I had already built a relationship with this horse. We had a great bond. We worked together. We stayed together because we felt good in each other's company. And unfortunately, they took him away from me. The end. When the owner also changed, they started taking my horses away from riding. I didn't even know about it. The people were registered for the next ride. I came with 4 people and had almost no horses to ride, due to the fact that by some miracle they all left, or were already riding. So I was deprived of even the opportunity to teach others. I found myself at the starting point again, without horses, without people, without a stable where I could develop my skills and build relationships with horses. But at some point, something appeared on the horizon again. It turned out that the methods I use are liked by many people, and those people who also had similar problems in stables turned to me. I had the pleasure of getting to know them again on my way, an amazing horse, this time a Polish horse, Orm, with whom I started working on the same principles, i.e. the aim of building relationships, to solve problems, where in our training we did not focus on hard goals, but on building this bond, on relaxing it, on having the horse accept us, on this, so that this horse could overcome its own difficulties, and not only our ambitious goals. We went with this horse to a ranch, where on huge areas of meadows, forests, rivers and swamps, this horse still lives in the wild, exercising with us, developing and building relationships with people. And that's how we found each other away from the stable, and from people who do not focus on building relationships, but on breaking down relationships between people and horses. Because in contact with a horse, it is about focusing on what the horse feels, not focusing on what we want to do, but pay attention to what the horse needs. And the most important tip is to look at the world through the eyes of a horse, and you will understand his difficulties. And thanks to this, you will find a way for him to overcome them. And when you overcome this path together, you will build a bond that will not be broken by any noise, fear, or threat.